Hey there, YouTube. Here's an article I wanted to share with you that's from MSN News. It's entitled Amnesty Russian Bombing of Syria May Be a War Crime. And it caught my eye because I'm kind of trying to keep up with current events and the hot spots around the world. Syria is a total chaotic nightmare now. And when I hear reports like this, I want to fact check them and find out, is it more propaganda spin by the mainstream media? What can you determine from the report itself? It's really short, so I'll just read it real quick. And I got a photo here of a stock file photo of some Russian bomber dropping bombs. It says Russia's bombing of Syria may amount to a war crime because of the number of civilians its strikes have killed, Amnesty International said on Wednesday, presenting what it said was evidence that the air raids had violated humanitarian law. And before I move down, and we'll get to where they say it's about, they think 200 civilians got killed and some number of fighters. If a war crime is determined by the number of civilians its strikes have killed, then we should be applying war crimes charges to an awful lot more than this one incident. And I would like to point out the fact that in World War II, the US and British bombers targeted deliberately civilian populations that had no strategic value, like the beautiful city of Dresden in Germany. They relentlessly firebombed it for like a day and a night and killed, I don't know, it was a couple of 100,000 civilians, right? Picture it in your mind just for a second. You're in your house, it's exploding, there's a massive fireball, the wind is air is sucked out of your lungs, and you're incinerated by this blast of hot air. Maybe the last thing you see is your wife and children bursting into flames in horror. 200,000 instances of that in 24 hours. But that's not a war crime because it was the good guys dropping the bombs on the bad guys. Let's keep some context here. The Japanese suffered horrific firebombing at the hands of Curtis LeMay out in the Pacific, too. Let's keep a little perspective on that, shall we? Russian airstrikes in Syria have killed hundreds of civilians and caused massive destruction in residential areas, striking homes, a mosque, and a busy market, as well as medical facilities in ... attacks that show evidence of violations of international humanitarian law, Amnesty said in a new report. I just love how they can selectively apply this international humanitarian law. No question, people getting blown up and killed and murdered by governments, dispatching militaries to kill them and bomb them is always a crime in some way, shape, or form. Unless you're being invaded, you're really being attacked, and you're defending yourself, flying over somebody else's cities and dropping bombs, it's ludicrous the way that the media spins things to be anti-Russian while completely ignoring the American and coalition bomb dropping and murder from the air. For instance, we just had a report just like a month or so ago where a U.S. C-130 gunship circled and obliterated a hospital in Afghanistan, a hospital that they had the GPS coordinates of and should have known it was a hospital. And the official baloney, they stonewalled for a while, and I guess the official story is, well, we thought there were terrorists in there or something. I don't even know what the official story is. Where's the outcry about that? Humanitarian law that was broken, and the war crimes that should be applied to that. Same thing. I'm against it all, but let's be fair and square about it. They talk about how Russia started its campaign of airstrikes, trying to help Bashar al-Assad by defeating the Islamic State and other militant groups, whereas the U.S. is supporting the Islamic State and other militant groups through backdoor channels, like the Saudis funding the whole damned operation and feeding them armaments through Qatar and the other Arab Emirate states, and Turkey's buying their oil left and right. Turkey's a NATO ally. That's financing them. So America has been supporting all these terrorists to overthrow the sovereign government. Ooh, shame on the Russians for coming in and actually trying to bomb the terrorists. So Russia's denied it. The governments always do. When asked by Reuters to comment, they said, not right now. We want to study the report. I encourage you to go to MSN News and just search the title, and you'll find this article. It's really short. See what you think. Amnesty got the report from Syrian observers, and apparently that's what they based it on. They're focusing on 6 attacks that took place in Homs, Idlib, and Aleppo, basing on interviews with witnesses and survivors, as well as video evidence. So somebody had a cell phone camera out after the bombing and walked around. Okay, well, where's the proof? Where's the evidence? How about the proof that we destroyed that hospital? Same deal. I saw some of that footage too. It looked pretty nasty. Last paragraph. The Russian strikes appear to have directly attacked civilians or civilian objects by striking residential areas with no evident military target, and even medical facilities, says the director of the Amnesty International. Yep, medical facilities, just like the hospital we just torched. I forget how many people were killed in that, but they were all civilians. It says such attacks may amount to war crimes. Okay, got it. Yeah, I tried to click on the report, but the document wouldn't open properly. Couldn't find the page. But there's the report, apparently, from Amnesty International. Okay, I'm on board with it. Good. Go after anybody who's committing a war crime and bring them to justice. They shouldn't be doing that. Governments should not be murdering citizens and civilians and people all over the place. They say they have to because they're fighting one thing or another. Terrorists, the enemy, the bad guys, or oopsie, it was an accident. But come on. When Secretary of State Madeleine Albright was interviewed and asked by the newswoman interviewing her if she thought the death of 500,000, get that, 500,000 Iraqi children as a direct result of the sanctions that the Clinton administration imposed on Iraq after Daddy Bush's wonderful little enlightening war, if she thought that it was worth the price, the 500,000 children that were killed, and without batting an eye, she said, yeah, I think it was worth it. So these hypocrites, these mass murderers that are in charge of governments and foreign policy, and they're not elected, they're appointed by the people that you elect. It's okay for that to happen. That's not a war crime. But if they think that the number of civilians that are killed makes it a war crime, I don't care if it's an airstrike or they're starved to death because we cut off their means of life and their means of commerce so that they can have an economy that's working and people can get food and water. We kill 500,000 children. Innocent children. Where's the outrage? This is nothing compared to that. And the Russians at least are trying to go after the terrorists, all of them. Not just pretend to go after the ones that the United States is really helping. So there it is. Have a look. See what you think. Amnesty. Russian bombing of Syria may be a war crime. Yep. And the whole Bush administration should be up on charges for what they did, lying us into a war that turned into Syria. The whole Obama administration, should be on trial for war crimes for things like, they happened to drone missile murder a whole wedding party on their wedding day with a drone missile strike. Oh, sorry. Oops. I don't even think we apologized for that one. Hey, they might have been terrorists. Yeah. They had that Arab look to them. They had that white sheets all wrapped around them and the towel around their head. Hey, that's a terrorist, right? They're Muslims. Got to kill them all. Man, a wedding party on their wedding day. There's a war crime. Where's amnesty? Where's the outrage? Well, just from one individual here, looking at what I can see and read, here's the outrage. I find it all outrageous. We should put them all out of business. Get rid of all these governments that want to murder everybody. I think we'd all get along a lot better. That's it from this end of the YouTube channel. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a comment, click like, subscribe. This is a new channel. And if I get enough interest in it, I'll keep going with Here's the Outrage.